everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that scares a lot of people, spiders. And the reason I thought about this topic was that recently in one of the groups that I follow on Facebook, which is not a spider group, has had a lot of postings about spiders, and everyone is freaking out and worried that the spider they just found in their house is the dreaded brown recluse. Now, if you don't live in the Midwest or the South of the United States, you might not know about these spiders. They're basically the most venomous spiders that we have around here. However, if you look at the data, it looks like maybe 95% of people who are bitten never know. Of those 5%, a few just have a little allergic reaction, but it's those few people who are left, that just a small fraction of a percent of people who are bitten by brown recluses will have very, very serious consequences. I'm not going to show you the pictures here, but you can look up brown recluse bites on Google and see all kinds of necrotic tissue because basically your flesh will die and like rot off of your bones. So yeah, they're pretty dreadful for those few people that they really affect. For most people, probably not a problem though. However, because of that, that's what people are afraid of. And so I just keep seeing this posting. Is this a brown recluse? Is this a brown recluse? And it's like, no, it's not usually. First of all, if you want to find a brown recluse or you spot something you think is a brown recluse, keep in mind that recluses are called that for a reason. You're very rarely going to find them out in the open. They like to be in the back of a closet or in the corner of a garage, maybe inside a shoe that you haven't put on for 2 or 3 years. Recluses like to be where they are not going to be disturbed. So they're also not very big spiders. I think the biggest I ever saw with the legs was probably maybe like that, and that was the biggest one. Normally they're more like that, maybe an inch. And that's even with the legs spread out. So if you find a big spider, it's not a recluse. Now the big thing that's famous that brown recluses have is a sort of violin marking on their back, with the neck of the violin headed back toward the abdomen. So that's pretty diagnostic. Every recluse I've seen has looked exactly like that. So there's been no mystery. It's like, yep, that's a recluse. I see the violin right there. Something else you might want to take a look at if you think what you found is a brown recluse is, does it hairy? If it's hairy, it's not a brown recluse. They do have very fine hairs, but they're so short, they're not really that visible to people. So it's going to look like a very smooth animal, not something that's got any spikes or hairs on it. Also, their abdomen and their legs are generally slightly lighter color than the rest of them. As I said, they're going to be hiding almost always. So if you see one out in the open, I mean, I'm not going to say that no brown recluse ever walked out in the open ever. That's probably because they were disturbed and they're trying to find somewhere else to hide. They do make disorganized webs, but again, back where you're probably not going to see them. So a brown recluse, fortunately I've never seen one in my house. I have seen them other places. They are the one spider I will squish if I see it somewhere. Yeah, I'm just going to step on it. So sorry, brown recluses. You are the exception to my rule of rescuing spiders and taking them outside. The other venomous spider we have in the Midwest here is the black widow. It has the infamous hourglass shape on the abdomen. I have never seen one. Now, I have friends who have seen them, so I know they're in this area, but not that common, I guess. I see a lot of other kinds of spiders, but people don't seem to be as afraid of them as the brown recluse. I don't hear people saying, oh my God, I think I found a black widow in my house. Maybe it's because the hourglass shape is just so obvious that you just know that it's a black widow. So they're around here in the Midwest of the United States, but I don't know if they're that common in the suburbs where I live. So things you might mistake for brown recluse. First up, funnel web spiders. Now, the New Zealand funnel web spider, or maybe the Australian one, I'm not sure, but the one that they patterned Shalab after in Lord of the Rings, yeah, they're really nasty and they're big, and you don't want to, be bitten by one of those. But around here, funnel web spiders are very small. They're slightly bigger maybe than brown recluse. They're kind of furry. They have brown and white stripes on the back. Mainly, they just make little funnels in the bushes. So sometimes when we go outside, we see these little things made of spider webs that are going back into the bush. And if you are very careful, you might see a little spider in there, but as soon as it sees you, it will duck back down to the bottom of the funnel and you won't see it anymore. Sometimes they manage to make it inside. You just catch them and take them back outside. So they're not a problem. Cellar spiders are probably the most common spiders that I see. They seem to love basements. They are very, very flimsy, very, very thin. I mean, it looks like if you blow on them, they're going to just like fall to pieces. They're just very fragile, completely harmless. So, don't worry about the cellar spiders. They're just hanging out. One that you might spot in your house, we have seen several. We do not squish them and we don't take them outside. If they're in our house, we leave them here, and that is the jumping spiders. Around here, they're generally black. Sometimes they're black with little white spots, and sometimes they're gray. I've seen gray and black ones in the house. They're very small, just little bitty spiders. And the thing is, they don't really make webs. They're ambush hunters. They're going to go out looking for something to eat, and their favorite meal is other spiders. So that's why we leave them alone. We're like, hey, dude, go out. If you find another spider in the house, great. Bon appetit. I used to have one that would come and visit me every day. It would like climb up on my desk, and it would climb up on the monitor, and would kind of look at me for a while, and then would climb down and go away. So he was kind of cute. He did that for a few weeks, and I didn't see him anymore. So he may have moved on. We had a gray one in the kitchen at one time, and I thought, well, why is he over here near the pantry? I'm going to catch him and put him on one of my houseplants, because surely there's like spiders living in the houseplants, like cellar spiders or something. So I did that, and the next day he was back in the pantry. So obviously that's where he wanted to be, so I just left him alone. I don't think I've seen him since, though. But they're around. I find them cute. Of course, some people think no spider is cute, but the little jumping spiders, they have little faces with the two big eyes, and they're looking forward, and they're just appealing. And they have this little way of, they've got moxie, they've got attitude. You get up near them, and there's a little bitty quarter-inch spider, and it'll like lift its front two pairs of legs at you, like I'm big and I'm going to defend myself, and you're like, dude, you're like this big. You could squish you without knowing. But anyway, so we like the jumping spiders. If we see them, we don't bother them. Those are the main things we see in the house. Around in the yard, we have seen several kinds of orb weavers, again, completely harmless to people, sometimes decorated very interestingly and be very colorful. We've got these really bizarre ones with the spines, and there's others that have little triangular abdomens that are colored pink or yellow or white. Generally, you find them like July and August. They finally, I guess, that this year's hatchings get big enough by July and August that they're starting to make webs big enough for you to see, and so that's one that's more obvious. And if you're hiking in the woods July and August, you're going to get a face full of spider webs unless you're like trying to knock away with a stick in front of you. But again, harmless. I've seen things like long-jawed orb weavers, which are very intriguing because the way they sit or stand, their posture is that they have two very long sets of legs in the front, and they hold them out in front. So it almost looks like they have four antennae that are sticking out of their heads, but it's really their front two pairs of legs that they're sitting with them, sitting straight out. So that's kind of intriguing looking, but I've never seen one inside. Wolf spiders live around here. Generally, again, you don't really see them inside. They are very large. They're very furry. They look pretty much like a tarantula, but a little bit smaller. The thing about wolf spiders is they carry their babies around on their back. So if they look kind of weird and lumpy, those are probably baby spiders. Should you disturb the mama spider, the little babies will probably run for their lives, in which case you'll suddenly have an explosion of little spiders. So, just let mama be walking across the yard or the sidewalk or whatever, and undisturbed, and she'll be fine. Little babies will be fine. Just leave them alone. We do have tarantulas around here in Missouri. Normally, they're more of a deserty creature, but this area where I live used to be a desert back in the days of the glaciers. There was so much water locked up in the glaciers that the area around here was desert. And so as this area got wetter, The desert, of course, has retreated, but we still have what we call glade communities. So if you find a southern facing slope that's kind of rocky and gets a lot of sun, you will find prickly pear cactus, you will find collared lizards, you will find scorpions, you will find tarantulas. So it's like little bits of the Southwest here in Missouri, but just these little isolated communities. So you're probably not going to see a tarantula anywhere near your house unless you just happen to have your house on a southern facing rocky slope in the hills south of St. Louis. So those are a few spiders that you are going to see around here, around Missouri or say in the Midwest. Most of them completely harmless. The only two not harmless to people, the black widow and the brown recluse, are still mostly harmless. But those brown recluses do worry people a lot. So take a look at the pictures, look at the descriptions, learn how to tell them, when you see one. As I said, every time I've seen one, it's been immediately apparent what it is. There's been no question. So that violin on the back is really diagnostic and really obvious. So, take a good long look. If it's a brown recluse, maybe you want to rescue it and take it outside, or maybe you just want to squish it. But otherwise, basically anything you find in your house can be left there or taken outside and saved to eat some more bugs. So, you want them out there eating the mosquitoes and whatever else is bothering you this summer. So enjoy your little friends if you find them, and, don't kill them unless it's necessary, because they do you a lot of good. So remember, if you like this video, hit like and subscribe, share it around if you like. And if you have some spiders that you find interesting, that because you live in a different area of the country or in a different country entirely, leave us a picture or a comment in the comments, and let's see what happens, what you might find in your house. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.